What's up, everybody? Welcome to Why We Love Horror 3.0, episode 76. Nothing came out in theaters this week. I'm just leading with that. I'm JWMaher, and that's Abby Brooks. Aaron is very exciting Michigan State basketball game yesterday. Aaron is still on the floor. Abby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I think this is a really creative thing that we're doing this week, and I'm excited to talk about, I think if you're in the horror, conversations, you are aware of these movies, but I think that this will be a really fun thing to kind of talk about and do.
Yeah, I think so too. So what we decided to do, and every week that it's slow, we'll either do like a VOD release maybe, but this week, the only thing that came out was Popeye's Revenge, and we're not going to do that to you. So we decided, let's go back to last year and talk about in-depth more some movies that you might have missed, definitely some movies that we did not talk about much, maybe things we touched on in our best of 2024, but nothing we went into too deep. So this is their hidden gems of 2024. Aaron has his own. We'll let Aaron, maybe Aaron can do his own video, but he had 3 as well. But Abby, why don't you start him off with your first one? And it's this movie. I've also seen it, but you can talk a little bit about Lowlifes.
Great. Yeah. So this one, all of these movies that I've picked, first of all, I watched them a while ago. So it's been a minute since I've seen them, but these are all movies that I feel very positively about. This one in particular. So I forget how I heard about it, but I knew that it was a Tubi release, which I hadn't heard anything great about the Tubi originals. And even now, I don't think there's really any good ones that have come out recently either.
Just Lowlifes and the Super Bowl on Tubi.
That's right. But this one in particular, I think, and I'm not going to say too much about it, but this one in particular did something different that I'm starting to see more horror thriller movies start to do in regards to a twist and how they tell their story. And I thought it was really creative. I think this is also just a really fun movie itself. It starts out really just kind of basic, a family is going on vacation. They're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods. They come across 2 guys who seem a little bit shady. And then it just kind of goes from there and other things start happening. Again, I'm not going to say too much about this movie because I really think that you should go in as blind as possible for this one. And again, it's not the most brilliant movie of all time. 2 out of 3 of mine, I don't think are that brilliant. But they're still good. They're still fun. And I really think that this one should be seen. And I think a lot of horror people have seen this one.
I think so too. I think this made the circuits a little bit, but I still think a lot of people, were like, Tubi, that's where I watch my Jagged Edge films. Why would I watch a film that they produced? Or B, they just didn't hear about it because it didn't get any kind of fanfare coming out. Mm-hmm. There's a few semi-familiar faces in this. And yeah, we're not spoiling any of these movies for you. Mm-hmm. It definitely is a movie, and there's another movie that Aaron really loves later in the year that kind of has the same exact structure. So I would say this movie is good. I doubt the other one that I won't mention it ripped this off, but it's suspicious because they both kind of have the same plot. But it's definitely worth it. A lot of good practical effects, a lot of good kills in this movie. Check out Lowlifes, definitely. Mm-hmm. My first pick, and all the movies I picked, I rated 4 stars or higher on Letterboxd. I think I got 2 4.5s and a 4. But the first one, surprisingly enough, I went all the way to India for this Malayalam language movie, Ramayugam. You're like, John, what are you talking about? Yes, there's plenty of Indian, Hindi dialect language movies that are freaking great. Virapaksha is great, and Ramayugam last year was great. It's a black and white Indian, I guess in America we'd call this a folk horror movie. Basically, a man who is a singer. And I don't mean a singer like we have singers. He's like a half monk kind of half singer. And he's stranded, comes across a palatial kind of I guess it would be a chalet, but it's India, so it's not. It's a big house. And in there's a weird property owner, but we find out that he's actually a goblin king. And it's all about how are we going to get out of this pickle? And but yeah, I'm really underselling it. It's great. It does have that like kind of Bollywood thing where there's musical numbers, but unlike other Bollywood films, like the musical numbers make sense because this guy actually is a singer, and it's always prefaced like, "Why don't you sing me a song?" It's not just like they're walking in the street and then they start singing a song about walking down the street. So like everything that you don't like or that make you avoid movies from India, like they do it right in Brahma Yugam. So I'd say if you can find Brahma Yugam, you should definitely check it out. Abby, I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I haven't, but it has been on my radar kind of. I know that this movie was on. It was one of, well, probably the 2024 Letterboxd, the Horrorville list. I think it was towards the top of the list. Like it was pretty close to the top. So it's definitely been on my radar, a movie that I've wanted to check out. I'm sure if it's like a Bollywood type movie, it's probably very long, which is not the type of movie that I typically go for. But
this clock's in at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it flies by because like it's a lot of like, it has all those familiar, like really good, like supernatural haunted house beats to it.
Okay.
So like if you're into like it's like if you are a fan of like The Conjuring, and then there's plenty of fans of The Conjuring. If you're a fan of those types of movies, like Brahma Yugam's gonna hit. I promise.
Gotcha. Do you know where this one is available? If it's available?
Great question. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna see what Letterboxd tells me. Nowhere.
No.
But you know what? Hit up your old friend John. John will get you a copy of Brahma Yugam. I promise you should check it out if you can. Your second movie is a movie I haven't seen, so I can't. I've seen the short. I've seen the Tales, the Halloween special of it, but I haven't seen the full length movie.
Yes.
But Mr. Crockett. So tell us a little bit about how Mr. Crockett full length pans out.
So again, this one is not, again, it's not spectacular, but I think that this was a really solid movie. There was like 1,000 movies that came out in October this year, whether it was on streaming, all the different platforms, in theaters, and this is one of them. I feel like this one kind of got lost in the shuffle of like all of the things that came out during that month. I think this one also premiered at I think it was Fantastic Fest, and a lot of people really enjoyed it at that festival too. This is, again, I just really like this. Had a lot of good effects, a lot of good performances. I think especially the main guy who plays Mr. Crockett. I think he's been in other things maybe, but I haven't seen him before. The whole thing is basically Mr. Crockett is kind of like a Mr. Rogers type of character on children programs, and he basically comes after the children who are watching these programs. Again, I think stuff like that has kind of been done before. So maybe not the most original, but again, I think it's a lot of fun. I know that there are some who haven't been too high on it, but again, I think especially with the effects, the first scene of this movie in particular, I think is really, really great. And again, I think the guy who plays Mr. Crockett is really, really good, and I'd really like to see him show up in a lot more stuff. They also we're not spoiling, but they do set this movie up for a sequel too, which I would certainly watch it if there was a sequel to this.
Fair enough. Like I said, I've seen the short, and you could actually dip your toe in the water and check out the short on Hulu has those Tales of Halloween or whatever, like those really short 3 to 5 minute movies. Watch the 3-minute movie. If you like it, watch the full length movie. And of course, this is on Hulu. And I just found out, going back to your original question, Abby, Brahma Yugam has a copy available on the Internet Archive, which is like a weird place to watch movies, but it's there, so you can watch it. My next movie, I will say, is another movie that's hard to find, but it is on the Roku channel currently, and I think you can also get it on Amazon. One of the biggest surprises of last year, and I think I'm the only person talking about it because the directors of the movie, interacted with me on Letterboxd. A Most Atrocious Thing, which, and I think all three of us, me, you, and Aaron, have made some form of the comment, when horror comedies are done bad, it's real bad.
Yeah.
There's ways for it to just not hit. And I find personally a lot of indie, and this movie is very indie, a lot of indie horror comedies, it's really just a bunch of people who somebody must have told them they're funny. And they try to be funny and they are absolutely not funny. These guys, the guys behind The Most Atrocious Thing, they're clearly a indie kind of comedy troupe. And they know what they're doing. Like they don't go over the top. They're funny. Their jokes are actually objectively funny. It's not just like me and the bros thought this was funny and we have a camera. And basically it's kind of like it's a theme we've seen a lot. Like it's a bunch of guys go on like a drinking, hunting bros trip into the woods, and hijinks ensue with zombie-esque tones. I can't stress enough. I gave this 4.5 on Letterboxd. The Most Atrocious Thing is like the most refreshing horror comedy from like an independent source that I maybe ever have seen on this level. Not the best horror comedy I've ever seen, but definitely the best like shoestring budget indie comedy since The Evil Dead. I'll say it. Abby, did you get a chance to see this?
Well, I sort of did. We started watching this movie and I fell asleep like maybe halfway through it. But it's not, I fall asleep during any movie, like even if I like it. So don't take that negatively. But what I did see, I did really enjoy. And I agree. I think the humor in this movie really worked well. If it doesn't work for you, then the movie probably just won't work. But I think it, like, in my opinion, I think all of these guys, like it was really funny. I didn't really get to any of, I think I started getting to the point where things started happening a little bit more. And it's a movie I definitely want to go back to and want to finish and like see the rest of it.
All right. Oh, the Shrek 5 teaser breakdown. Stay to the very end, Javi. It's coming. The third movie you brought for us today, another movie, I believe it's available on Shudder, Mads. And yes. I haven't seen this, so I know what it's about. I know it's a drug movie, but tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I think Aaron also talked about this one in our best of 2024 list. It didn't quite get to mine, but it is definitely up there. This is probably the best out of my 3 movies. Like if you're going to watch any of them, I would probably say watch this one. I think that, so it's hard to describe what this is about. It's kind of a zombie-ish kind of movie. It's very unique and it's taken in all one shot. It's one of those kinds of movies but it doesn't feel like it's gimmicky or anything like that. It is French, so it has that like French intensity gore to it. It's also one of those movies where it just makes you anxious throughout the movie. Like, I think I said it in my Letterboxd review. It reminds me of, and I'm sorry if I say his name wrong, it reminds me of a Gaspar Noé movie.
You nailed it.
Where it's just like people are yelling all the time, but it's not like an obnoxious kind of yelling. It's just like it keeps building and more stuff happens. And you're just like, oh my God, like this is a lot. Until at the end, it's just insanity. And I really like those kinds of movies. I mean, obviously I love the French and like the gore aspect of it. All of the performances are really good too. Like there are a lot of characters that are not very likable, but you don't really care. It kind of, again, it just adds to the anxiety of all of it and the intensity of everything that is happening. Until again, it just comes to a head in the end. So again, if I was going to suggest you watch any of my 3 movies, this is the one that I think like people should watch.
Fair enough. And I haven't seen that. I am remiss in not having seen this movie. I will correct that eventually. And I would say out of the 3 I mentioned, definitely go watch A Most Atrocious Thing. But my third movie that I brought, it's good, but like I think I might be one of the only people that likes it. Handling the Undead. It's a Norwegian movie. It's very Norwegian. It's very Scandinavian, so that might be a turnoff for people. It's from the same author, the guy that wrote Let the Right One In, also wrote this movie, and it is technically kind of like Mads, I guess. It's technically a zombie movie, but it's like the saddest zombie movie because it's like people's relatives are like coming back to life, but they're not like bloodthirsty, vicious zombies. They're just like slightly reanimated corpses. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're barely alive, and they're coming back while these families are still grieving. Like a woman's son comes back to life, and there's an older lesbian couple, and one of them dies and comes back to life. And then there's a guy here where his wife had died tragically, and she comes back to life. And it's all like just different stages of like letting go. So it's kind of like barely a horror movie. It's just like the themes are horror themes, but it's just like a I'm really selling this. It's a sad Scandinavian movie, which a lot of movies from Scandinavia are sad. Handling the Undead will make you sad. Have you seen Handling the Undead, Abby?
No, I haven't. But it sounds like a similar vibe to, like, it says it's the same writer as like Let the Right One In. It sounds like it's a very similar vibe to that, which I like that movie a lot. So if I'm in the mood to feel sad, I will seek this movie out.
Yeah, it's like how Let the Right One In isn't. It has some sad themes. I wouldn't say it's per se sad. It's like depressingly set.
Yes,
it's depressingly shot, but it's not a sad movie. This movie is fucking sad. So there's that. If you've just lost a loved one, don't watch this movie. If you're far removed from losing relatives, watch it. You'll be fine. All right. Those are the 6 movies we brought. Like I said, Aaron had 3, but I only saw one of them. I don't feel right talking about the other 2. But it is still Why We Love Horror, so we can still do our Why We Love Horror challenge for them. And there's the website. You can join us over there. There's a prompt every week, 52 weeks. Do them all in 1 week. Join and don't do any. I don't care. But we love the community and talking what we're doing. This is week 8 of the Why We Love Horror challenge, and it was watch a movie from the 60s, a horror movie from the 1960s you haven't watched before. And Abby, I'll let you go first. What did you watch this week?
Yeah, so I watched, this is a pretty popular movie that I hadn't seen. I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which I really, really enjoyed it a lot. Again, like it's a movie that, like, I was never bored by the things that were happening. It's probably more on like the level of a thriller, like a psychological thriller for sure. But again, like, it was never boring. The performances are iconic and classic for a reason. And it had a really great ending. So I obviously would recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, just watch it. It's necessary. I feel like that's like necessary viewing. Yeah. I'm not trying to be like a gatekeeper, but like it's just you watch it. It's cool. I watched a movie that also feels like something that everybody should watch, but I know not many people have watched it. Like in the beginnings of the Cold War, a movie came out in Russia called VIY, and it's like crazily ahead of its time. I was blown away with like what they accomplished in 1967, like knowing what we were doing over here. And I don't know what the budget of V was. I can't speak to anything about the production of the movie, but like I went in being like, it's just gonna be like some, because I've seen other European like movies of that time frame, and some of them are just straight hot and sort of quasi pedophilic garbage. This was not. This was the opposite of that. Everything was like really well done. The creature effects are berserk. It's like Jim Henson would have been jealous of this stuff. It's real good. Like it's just real good. So if you haven't seen VIY, I don't know where. Let me see. Where would I send you to find V? Because I think everybody should. I guarantee it's on the Internet Archive. Oh, it's on Tubi. V is on Tubi. I think that's where I watched it actually. So check it out.
Mine's
VIY on Tubi. Check that. Go watch V. Go watch Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Catch up. Those are our 60s movies for the week. Let me drop this banner back. That's going to do it for today. So like I said, on these slow weeks, you're going to see more live episodes like this. Aaron will be back to join us eventually. But if you made it this far in the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Go to the Facebook group at Why We Love Horror. I'll throw up the Letterboxd. That's the Letterboxd challenge. Go there. Check that out. And the schedule here is usually the same. Monday versus Thursday, Why We Love Horror. Friday, Why We Love Horror Trivia. Got like a trivia match and the Just Eclipse Championship being defended on Friday. And actually, I added a little thing at the end. We're going to do a Why We Love Horror Trivia special edition next week. So I'm spoiling that right now. There's going to be a special edition next week because we do a little more Just Eclipse. Abby, I'll give you the last word. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I really love this idea. I like talking about these smaller hidden movies. I wish Aaron was here because he had some good ones to talk about too. But next time.
Shrek 5 teaser. Oh, that's right. See, and if you stay tuned because that Shrek 5 teaser is the reaction video is coming up right now.